Greetings all, and welcome to Esoteric Babble. Today's babbling is going to concern Sigil Magick. Now there are a near infinite amount of great videos on Sigil Magick. So my only sort of new take on this will be that I'm going to use the Pāli language, which comes from my own Buddhist practice for the sigil. But there are many great videos on Sigil Magick. One thing we can ask, first of all, is what is a sigil? So that word comes from Latin, and I think it's sigillium, which means a sign. And so what we're going to do actually is we're going to take an intent and we're going to transform it into a physical object. Now, one way that we do transform our intentions into physical objects, and we don't always think about this in the modern world, is that we can write it down. This is actually the meaning of a spell, really. So one thing we should think about is that there was a time when English wasn't written down, when Latin wasn't written down, when Greek wasn't written down, certainly when Sanskrit and Pāli weren't written down. And so coming up with some sort of, like, you might call it a technology or a magic that is able to capture what is being said and thought and externalizing it in a way that other people have access to it is a form of magic. But we're going to take that one step further or farther in Sigil Magick, and we're going to collapse our written sentence into a sign, into something that is not any more recognizable as a sentence. And what we then do with Sigil Magick is we charge the sigil. I think Stargirl, the Practical Witch, has some good advice on that. There's a lot of different techniques. You could get some sweat and dab on there. You could concentrate on it. But we want to infuse this object with our intention. We want it to hold our intention. And then we want to transform it in some way. There are different ways. I like to kind of burn my sigils and let them become part of the universe that way. That way they're going out, they're becoming part of the universe. Our intention is becoming manifest that way. But you could find other ways. You could kind of, I suppose, shred it and let it float down a river or something, or plant it and let it become part of some plant. Or I should say plant it along with a plant. The sky's the limit, and you can be as creative as you want to be here. So what we'll do is, first, my intention, and I think this is just a good one. This is, I think, would be called kusala, a skillful intention, and that is, in English, I just think my mind/heart is always calm. So then I get that into Pāli. Now, like I said, this Pāli step, there are already lots of, I don't want to say spells, but there are certainly mantras out there in Sanskrit and Pāli. You could pick, it doesn't have to not be English. It could be any language. Like I said, I'm picking Pāli because it's something that I study actively, and it's part of the Buddhist tradition. I will write this down. In Pāli, this is going to be mama cittaṃ, sadā, upasantaṃ. And that's quite literally my mind/heart. Remember, in Pāli, cittaṃ is both the emotional and kind of intellectual thinking part of our brain, the combination of the two. We leave out in Pāli the verb to be, so my mind always calm. So that's going to be, when I write it down here, and my writing is awful, so apologies. Sadā, upasantaṃ. So this is what it looks like written out. And then what you do for Sigil Magick, or at least this form of Sigil Magick, is you go through, and we're just going to look at the consonants. We're going to get rid of the vowels. And actually, in some languages don't even write the vowels down. So it's kind of even historical precedent for that in writing itself. So we're going to get rid of our vowels, and then we will go through, and I'm going to write down each consonant, but only once. If there's a recurring consonant, then it gets, we just ignore it at that point. And here you'll see that these are different sounds here, this and this m. I can't do this backwards, but so that's not like a replication. Those are actually different. And again, no vowels. Okay, so we end up with no vowels, and these are the repeating consonants, and we just have, this is what we're left with. And now, at this point, I'm going to confess I have what's known as what I call sigil envy. I think everyone else's sigil looks much cooler and much more magical than mine. So, just draw upon your own creativity, and you could use these kind of curved letters, or you could change them, you could do things like this, whatever you're thinking that's going to help you get this into some form of one magical looking object. And I'm going to do something, you would want to, or at least I go through this in layers, but say we had something like this, and you might try something like upside down or just kind of connected here. This looks awful already. So let's see here. And we're going to try one more. Maybe something like... So this is one, this is like maybe a first pass. And it does have like a certain magical looking quality to it. So you could keep working on something like that and, get something that you're really comfortable with. Maybe sometimes I like to put them in a circle. I'll trace out a circle and put them in there. And you could color it in. You can, anything that you think is going to help make this hold your intention. As I said, at some point you want to charge this sigil, and you want to energize it. We want to transfer our intent to it. And then I've heard different takes on the next part. Some people say that you don't want to go out and say transform or burn your sigil until you've kind of forgotten about it, until it's working like on some kind of subconscious level. Like when you can look at this sigil and not remember what it is, I think that would be one piece of advice. And I actually have a sigil laying around here, and I have no idea what it was because it's very old. And I kind of like the design, and I think I just thought, well, I won't part with this just yet. So it'll be a test to see if that works. But I don't know how necessary that is. I think that something like this is also going to work at the level of we can tell ourselves all the time, we can sort of infuse ourselves with this. My mind is always calm. Mama cittaṃ sadā upasantaṃ. We can say that to ourselves. And, if we're in the car, and there are certainly other practices that we can use too. We can use like breathing, pranayama. We can do things that will help calm our body. But this is a good mind tool, which is in Sanskrit mantra. This is, having a mind tool like this is good. So I don't know that we need to not know what the sigil is. I'm agnostic on that. And this is something that you could develop kind of a doctrine about, or you could just put into practice and experiment and see which way works better. So like I said, at some point then we would take this sigil, we would cut it out, and we would do something with it that would transform it and let it go out into the world. So that's kind of a quick overview. Sigils, I think, are very fun. I can't say that my sigils have always been, have always worked. And I think you have to be careful. Obviously, if you write a sigil that you're going to win the lottery, I don't know that the chances are high. I think people, when we practice magic, we want to give the universe like a good chance of being able to help us. Now, one thing about intentions, you always want to put intentions in the present tense. You don't want to talk about something that will happen. Just right now, it's happening. So we don't worry so much about verbal tense in that respect. And again, there are languages that don't really have verbal tense, and so they would be way ahead of us there already. Chinese would be an example. Actually, Thai is an example as well. You can use words to say like yesterday or already, but the verb itself does not undergo any like conjugation, so the verb's always sort of in the present tense. So that's, like I said, that's an overview of Sigil Magick. I'd be very interested to see if anyone has had great success. I've had some success with Sigil Magick, and of course, believing that it will be successful is important. I mean, why would I have an intention if I don't believe that it can be possible? If I don't believe my mind slash emotional state slash body can be calm, why would I even have that intention? So, I mean, it's not like I don't believe I can breathe underwater for a half an hour or for any amount of time. So that's, that's just, I put that out there for skeptics. I think that we have to be positive and we have to believe in what we're doing, and that will help it come to fruition. So, dear listener, do let me know if you have any success or any lack of success with Sigil Magick, and I would be very interested to hear from and learn from you. Peace, everyone.